Oh, good. You have all your paperwork and everything. And I'm all on this comfortable chair. Welcome back. Thank you for joining. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining. I wish this light was a little bit brighter. Can you turn on that light?
I'm about to tell you, it's like a postcard now.
Oh, wow. Turn on that light just to have a little bit more light here. That's awesome. Okay, we're gonna get started. Don't move the table. I don't want everything to fall. Okay, welcome to Donata Skin Food. My name is Donata, and I am your virtual skin therapist, always bringing things to you about the mind, body, skin, and hair. But tonight, I wanted to share some information with you because I have my tax professional, Jennifer Metellus, that is going to be updating me on all, oh, the lighting is perfect, thank you. She's gonna be updating me for my business and all the ins and out of the new laws for the new tax season. And I thought it would be really cool to have her online while she's talking to me and explaining to me what I'll need to do to prepare for the new tax season, that I can share with you guys that are also a small business or just starting and wanting to find information that can help you grow. November will be 5 years for me, and it's just in the past year that I've gotten my life together when it comes to all this stuff. And that's because once I connected with her, she was able to get all my paperwork together. I didn't know my true numbers until this year, and honestly, I think within the last 2 months, since I started a new system, Shopify, where I funnel everything through Shopify. I used to be all over the place. I used to collect my money from Squarespace at the Yellow Green Farmers Market. I used to collect cash in person if somebody would place an order. If somebody sent an order via DM, I used to collect it through Cash App. So I had so many different channels that I was collecting money, and I didn't know my true numbers. So now that I started with Shopify in August, I've been able to see my real numbers. I've been able to see what I truly make in the business. And from there, I'm able to know where I want to go and what my goals are. So it's really exciting when you know what you're doing in your business, you know your numbers, and you know how to move forward. So having Jennifer on board, she was able to help me bring everything together, add in the tax pieces so that I'm doing my taxes appropriately. So this is why I want to share this information with you, because if you're just starting and you're starting on the right foot, it's going to be easier to understand your business. And as you grow, it won't be so overwhelming versus being all over the place. And then as you're growing, that's when you're trying to figure it out, when your numbers are higher, when your sales are higher, and you're trying to backtrack to kind of figure out what you made and what you owe taxes and all of that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself, and we'll be having a conversation about my business and the laws that's gonna pertain to me. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments, and as we're going, she'll answer your questions as much as possible. I would like to do this as a 3-4 part series because there's so much information she needs to share that I would prefer her to take her time to go through it than rush and try to give you guys, you know, everything at the same time. So go ahead.
Hello, everyone. As Donata said, my name is Jennifer Metellus. I am both a tax professional and a bookkeeper. I do have a master's in business as well as a master's in accounting. So I've been doing this for quite some time. My passion is really getting small businesses to really have everything together, because when I started off my small business, no one helped me. I was literally like a chicken with my head cut off, having to do my own research, having to figure it all out. So I feel like it's important for me to pay it forward by helping other small businesses and trying to, you know, stay in business and knowing your financials, knowing where you stand. In addition to trying to keep your business going, you want to make sure you're continuously running a profitable business. So as Donata stated, it's a lot of information, so we're not going to be able to tackle everything tonight. So we're going to do this in a couple of sessions because there is quite a bit of information. I do want to kind of take it back before we jump into the small business portion. I want to scale it back to your personal taxes because that's going to change as well. So the IRS hasn't totally finalized everything as of yet, but first and foremost, I want to show you guys what the 2018 1040 is. So it's no longer a full page front and back with all your tax information. It's pretty much the size of a postcard now. So if you guys can see, this has your top information as far as your name, your address, and your filing status. And this is gonna have your income information. As stated, it is a draft, so the IRS is still going through revisions, but pretty much the 1040 is gonna change completely. For the 2018 tax year, the personal exemption will be suspended. So in the past, you would get up to $4,050 per person that you, including yourself and your spouse, as an exemption on your tax return. For the 2018 tax year, that's no longer gonna be the case. However, the standard deduction has increased, okay? So for a single person, the standard deduction is $12,000. For a married couple, it's $24,000.
What was it last year?
Last year, for a single person, it was $6,300. For head of household, it was $9,000. So essentially, what they did was, since they eliminated exemptions, they increased the standard deduction. For some people, that's gonna help. For some people, it's gonna hurt, because if you were used to claiming 6 and 7 people and you're a single person, now you're capped at $12,000.
So
or if you had a household, 18. Regardless of how many dependents you're claiming, now the standard deduction is capped at $12,000 for single, $18,000 for head of household, and $24,000 for married filing jointly. Child tax credit has increased. So it's up to, in the past, child tax credit was $1,000, up to $1,000 per child. Now it's up to $2,000. However, up to $1,400 of that can be additional child tax credit. So when it comes to credits, there's what you call non-refundable and refundable. So a refundable tax credit obviously results in a refund. Mm-hmm. A non-refundable tax credit generally just reduces your tax. Doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get a refund. So now with the child tax credit being $2,000 and up to $1,400 of it is additional child tax credit, up to $1,400 of it is refundable. Whereas last year, it was the difference of the $1,000. And again, additional child tax credit, everybody doesn't apply to that. Obviously, there are some limitations and some restrictions if you qualify for that. However, for small businesses, you can now deduct up to 20% of your net income, of your taxable income, up to 20%. You can take as a deduction for small businesses. And that applies to sole proprietors, partnerships, and LLCs.
And what was it before?
That credit didn't exist before in the past. So that's something new that they are offering for qualified business income deductions. And again, when they say qualified, your business has to be a legit business. You have to have an EIN, registered with SunBiz, and all that stuff. So it can't just be, oh, I just created a business all of a sudden, and you have no type of substance to back up, okay, if it's a legit business. So what else? As far as itemized deductions, so some of you may not be small business owners, some of you may be small business owners and employees, okay? So now in the past,
so what am I?
You're just a small business owner. You're not you work somewhere else?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm a substitute.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah. But for...
Oh, what you mean an employee meaning working somewhere else? I thought you mean small business and you're working for yourself.
No. You're working for someone else. So in the past, there was a form for 2106 for business expenses, employee business expenses. And this will mainly apply to people whose job does not necessarily do reimbursement, whether it be for mileage, whether it be for uniforms, scrubs, tools, those things, and you have to kind of pay out of pocket for that. In the past, you have been able to take some of those employee business expenses. That form has been suspended for 2018. The only folks that can use that form are armed services, which is military. So that goes away. The home mortgage interest deduction has been modified. The private mortgage insurance. So if you have a private mortgage insurance, that deduction has been expired for 2018. We are in the state of Florida. Some of you may not be in the state of Florida, so there are other places where you pay state and local taxes. The deduction for that has been also limited. And as far as your overall limit on itemized deductions is suspended. My biggest advice to everyone, especially my small business owners, especially my sole proprietors, documentation is going to be key. They are really honing in on small business owners, making sure you have your receipts. And it's not even just, oh, well, I swiped my business card so my bank statement shows. No longer can you just show them your bank statement to substantiate your business expense. You must have an invoice, you must have a receipt to account for that. Why? You can have Office Depot on your bank statement and say, hey, well, I bought office supplies. But Office Depot sells more than just office supplies. You can get chips, you can get soda, you can get a whole lot of things that are not business related or pertaining to your business inside of Office Depot. So again, the auditors, the field auditors, the in-house, the internal auditors, they are going to be targeting small business owners, sole proprietors, S corporations, partnerships, whatever your business structure is. Please, there are apps that you can download on your phone. Receipts do fade over time. The IRS is well aware of that. So if you need to scan and make a copy of it, upload it to your computer. Again, there are several apps out there that you can actually, and I have them myself, and I'll tell you some of them. There's one called Receipt Stash. There's one called Stride Tax. If you have QuickBooks, QuickBooks have an app that you literally just upload the receipt right into your QuickBooks already. Okay, so next week we'll get more into as far as deductions and what they're gonna be looking for, the things that you actually can deduct when it comes to your business. And I stress this because field auditors are auditors that go out and really investigate if the business exists. So you can say, hey, I do this and I do X, Y, and Z, and this is my business address. And if for whatever reason, they don't think that business exists, they have field auditors, and that's exactly what they do. They go out to the business to see if it's a legitimate business, if it exists, if you actually have customers, and so on and so forth. So please, if you're not sure what business structure you need to be having, if you're not sure how to set up your business, if you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing at any point, I am going to leave my contact information. I'm more than happy to kind of do phone consultations over the phone to kind of give you information. Okay, you do not want to be that person that gets so excited, you know, that you think you got everything together and you got to go sit in front of an auditor and you don't have anything. And trust me when I tell you, when they send you an audit letter, they've already done their investigation. They know everything they need to know. And they're waiting for you to come and provide your documents to substantiate the income you provided, the expenses you're trying to deduct, the credits you're trying to claim. Okay? So, again, we'll get more into that next week in terms of the small businesses, because it is a lot of information. Mm-hmm. Questions so far? No questions yet.
It's a lot of information to even grasp. And I think doing a whole session on just deductions is important, because that I don't even fully understand myself. So doing a whole live stream on deductions would be great.
Okay.
So what changes are going to apply to me for what we've done already and what you know about my business?
So the changes that's going to apply to you is the fact that you will now qualify for a 20% deduction on your business, on your taxable income, which is mainly your business. So now you get an extra deduction.
So if I made 100, I'm just throwing out numbers, guys. If I made $100,000 for the year, I can deduct up to 20,000.
It's on your taxable income. So after we take off your standard deduction, whatever your taxable income is, up to 20% of that can be used as another deduction.
Okay, so it's taking everything out, and let's say there's 30,000 left. It's 20% of that 30,000.
Back it up again.
Okay, you said after all the deductions?
After your standard deduction.
Okay, so let's say standard deductions was 70,000. I'm just throwing numbers out there. And what's left is 30,000. It would be 20% of that 30,000 of what's left.
Correct. So in your case, you made 100,000, right? Let's take away your standard deduction of 18,000 because you'll file head of household. That leaves you with 82,000. Okay, so your adjusted gross income, your adjusted gross income is 100,000 because, and you have no other form of income, correct?
Yeah, for this scenario, yeah.
Okay, so after your standard deduction is 100,000 because there's no other form of, that's if there's no other form of income. So that leaves you with 82,000. So 20%, up to 20% of that is going to also be used for a deduction, which is up to 16,400. Okay. Which essentially, why is that important? Because deductions reduce your taxable income. Your taxable income is what's used to determine your tax. Okay. So if you make $100,000, your taxable income is not $100,000. You understand? So they use your taxable income to. Sorry, guys. So that's why knowing your taxable income, having your taxable income is going to be important because that's what your taxes is based off. The tax brackets have also changed. In the past, it was a larger range. Now it's broken up into smaller ranges as far as, fixed percentages. So for most taxpayers, they should see a break. But again, if you fall into the higher bracket range, you're obviously not going to see that break. But for most taxpayers, they should see a break in terms of taxes. It may not be a dramatic change. People are probably looking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You may not see a break like that. It may be more so a couple of $100, which is something.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, something I saw on some kind of show about allowing your child to work in your business, and you can get something up to 6,000.
Correct. So the way that works is, and I'm still trying to figure out and find out the information is, how do you account for the paying of each child? So yes, you can now pay your child up to $6,000, hire them into the business, and pay them up to $6,000, and that $6,000 is in turn you're using to support that child, whether it be to buy Pampers, milk, school uniform, whatever it may be. You can now hire your child into your business. And when we say hire your child, I know some of you are like, how is that? My child is only 12. My child is only 13. And that's fine. You can now hire your child into the business and pay them up to $6,000. Why would you want to do that? Because now you're reducing the income. So that expense that you're paying, that you're saying, okay, I paid my child $2,000 to the business, that's a deduction for you because now you have wages, which is a qualified business expense. Now you're talking wages and salaries, which in turn reduces your net income. Okay.
So with me having 3 kids, it would be 18,000.
You can up to 18,000 because it's up to 6,000 per child.
Okay. That's good to know. They didn't have that last year, or I just didn't know.
Honestly, I did not know, but it was more prevalent. It came up in the IRS conference. But again, they have not rolled out, okay, this is the form that you're going to be using. You know, if you have a taxpayer who's self-employed and hiring their child, these are the forms that they should be filling out. So I haven't gotten that, but I am working on that because, again, that's a lot of people and that's a lot of money.
Especially hiring all 3 kids. Have all my babies working for me. Yes, great information, and we're gonna follow up. Next week's live stream is about deductions only because I think that's important. One thing I learned, I didn't know that if I want to lease, can you do that with buying a car too?
What?
You do it under the business?
You can lease your car. You can purchase a car under the business. However, typically what dealers look at, how long has the business been established? You know, is it a legitimate business? Of course. I'm not sure if you guys know about having an actual business credit score with Dun & Bradstreet. Yeah. So those are things that, you know, again, if you using that car a lot for your business, which in your case you do, that's something that you can look into as well. But again, they're going to be looking at how long you've been in business. They're going to want to see documentation, but it would be a qualified business expense. The business would actually own that vehicle. You understand?
Yeah. So I wouldn't even have to try to calculate how much is for business, how much for personal, because I brought the car or leased the car through the business.
That is correct.
So it's the business.
That would be a qualified business expense. The company would pay for whatever the car note is on that.
Car insurance,
Yes.
gas, mileage, all of that.
Well, not gas. And
But
we'll
how
talk.
am I gonna get around?
We're gonna talk about gas because a lot of people think, oh, I'm just gonna claim fuel credit. You cannot claim fuel credit unless you're operating machinery like fuel, and that's mainly for like farmers, construction workers who actually use a machinery. You can't double dip. So if you're deducting your car note and your car insurance, you can't turn around and take the miles. You either do the standard mileage rate or you take actual expenses. If you take the standard mileage rate, I think last year it was 55 cents or 56 cents per mile. But with the standard mileage rate, great point. If you decide that you want to deduct mileage, okay, you must document your mileage. And when we say document, the IRS is no longer going to take a mileage log that says, I drove 3 miles today. You know, they want to know your beginning miles, your ending miles, what client you went to see, who else was there when you went to see the client.
Who else was there?
Yes. 2019 is going to be interesting.
Well, why does somebody always have to be there?
It doesn't necessarily have to be there, but if there was someone else there, for
Okay.
example, if you went to a client's house.
Like you came to my house to
Correct.
have this meeting and my
There's
kids
3
are
other
here.
people here.
Okay.
So caution yourself when you're claiming mileage because your mileage log cannot be incomplete. If you try to do that and you go sit in front of an auditor, they're just going to wipe that credit out and now you have to pay it back.
So I used to have an app that the minute I start driving, it shows me, you know, my beginning and my end, and then it logs it in for me. But that won't work because
Nope.
now I have to log in where I go and who I see. Let me have a little bit more. Sorry. Let me see if we missed any before hers.
No.
I don't think so.
Hang on, guys. I'm getting to the questions. Last year, I started a soap LLC, no sales, but startup costs. Tax accountant said I couldn't do taxes last year until I made $500 in sales. This year, I have over $5,000 in business costs, and I'm at worth the weight loss. I'm not understanding your question completely. So as far as filing your taxes, when you're self-employed, I think I understand the first part of that question. When you're self-employed, you are not required to file any taxes unless your business have made over $400 in net sales. So if you only made $380, then you weren't required to file taxes. Yes, you can do taxes this year. You're at $4,500 in sales. After all of your deductions, if you have more than $400 in sales, then yes, you will be required to file taxes.
By the way, congratulations. From zero taxes to now having to pay taxes because you have sales. That's awesome. Did you have any specific questions besides knowing that you'll have to file taxes now? And I will say, since this is your first year, be sure you get your books in order so you know your cost of goods, you know your labor, you're pricing your products correctly. Like I mentioned before, it took 4 and a half years to really get all my stuff together. And when it came to knowing my numbers, as in cost of goods and labor and cost for every little thing that I was doing, electricity, using some of my house to make products, I didn't start doing that till 3 years in. And it's not until I started doing that that I realized I did not price my products correctly, and I had to do a big jump in all my prices because I basically was making products for free. So good thing that you're starting now. Do you think I can get back some startup costs? This is what she did.
We're all of Okay, so worth the wait. You're off to a good start as far as using some method of accounting for all of your expenses. As far as your bills, your electricity and water, that's going to be determined by the area in which you use in your home. So the way the business use of home deduction works, okay, let's say your home is 1,000 square feet and you're using 100 square feet for business, then the deduction is going to be 10%. So 10% of your water bill, 10% of your rent, 10% of your light bill, and if you're using the internet as well for the business, 10% of that. So it's a percentage that's going to be used, and your accountant or whoever your tax person is will ask you those questions in terms of the percentage. So it's based on the area in which you use in your home. Please, guys, don't tell your tax guy that 50% of your home is for the business, okay? Because the field auditors will come out to your home if they feel like it's exaggerated or it just doesn't seem right. As far as your startup costs, it would all depend on if all of your startup costs was incurred in that year.
And regarding the labor, you have to figure out how much you are worth to pay yourself for your products. The way I do it, everything that I make has a labor cost tied to it. So if I'm making 20 pounds of soap, that 1 hour and a half to make that 20 pounds of soap, I charge myself a certain amount and I add it within the cost of the sale. So you need to figure out what you're worth. Some people do $15 an hour, some people do $20 an hour, some people do $35 an hour, some people do $50 an hour. It depends on what you're worth. So you need to figure out what you're worth and how much you want to pay yourself per hour, and you add that into your cost of goods. I use an app called Crafty Base. Crafty Base, CRAFTYBASE, is $7 a month, but it allows you to put your recipe. It allows you to add your cost of, not your cost of good, your labor. It allows you to calculate how many bars of soap was made through that recipe, and it tells you how much each bar of soap costs you to make, and how much, it asks you how much you want to sell the bar of soap for, and it calculates your profit. A lot of small businesses, and this is what I did when I started, I went on Etsy, I looked at everybody's soaps, And I just said, oh, okay, some people sell their soaps for $4, some people sell their soap for $7, and I said, I'm gonna sell my soap for $6. And that's how I did my business. Not calculating that my soaps were all essential oils, all plant-based, all clays, all natural products, and I just threw a price tag on my products. It's not until I sat down and started really figuring out every single thing. Some essential oils like peppermint is very cheap. Then you have patchouli, which is really expensive, or geranium, which is really expensive. I was not doing all that calculation. I just threw a price tag on the soap, and I lost a lot of money the first 3 years. Like I said, I pretty much gave away natural products. So since worth the wait, you're at the very beginning, be very strategic of how you price your products. If your bar of soap costs $10 and somebody else is selling it for $6, don't say to yourself, oh, well, I'm pricing my soaps too high. No, you don't know what the other person put in their soap. So if you're using high quality oils, you're using essential oils, you're using herbs, all that takes, all that takes costs a lot of money. So you need to price your products accordingly. Don't shortchange yourself at the beginning. At the end of the day, how you present yourself, how you present your products, how you present your business to your target audience is what's gonna make you the money. Not selling cheap soaps so that you can feel you're making money, but at the end of the day, you're really not making anything. You're not even making enough to pay yourself. You're basically making products, you're selling, you feel good because, ooh, I got a $6 sale, but it cost me really $5.50 to make that soap. So really, and this is why I'm sharing this information with you guys, because I did everything on my own. I didn't take any classes. I didn't take any business classes when it came to soaps. I didn't take any classes of how to calculate different stuff. I learned as I grew over the last 4.5 years, 4 years and 11 months, because next month I'll be 5 years. I had to learn on my own, and in that learning, I lost a lot of money. So this is why I'm so open to sharing even something little as what I shared the other day, where to get your bubble wraps from. I spent 4 years buying my bubble from Walmart for $15, and I was able to get twice as much for $30 on Amazon and buy them bigger. Excuse me. So all that little stuff, all those little things adds to your bottom line. You have soaps left over from your batch, scrape that soap up, use it for yourself or cut it into samples. Now I am so nitpicky about all my little, you know how when you make products you have so many, I want to say class, but what is it called? So many scraps. You have so many scraps left at the end and you think to yourself, oh, I'm just going to wash this big pot. No, scrape that up, use it for yourself, use it as samples so that you can continue to grow and save money as you're growing your business. The other day, as a matter of fact, yesterday, I was cutting soaps because I sell these miniature pine tar and scar butter sets. And when I cut the soap online, I specifically say that each soap is 1 ounce. But when I cut them yesterday, it was 1.5 ounces, it was 1.3 ounces, and I was gonna give it to the people for whatever I cut it for. Then I realized, no, if I said the soap is 1 ounce online, I need to go ahead and shave those soaps. As a matter of fact, hold on, I'm gonna show you something. So I just happen to be real close to my work area. So these are the sets I was making yesterday. They're 1 ounce pine tar soap and 0.2 ounce scar butter set. This is what I call my miniature facial set. For people that have issues with their face, they buy this for $15 and they use it for a week. And according to this, 9 times out of 10, they're loving it and they buy the big set. So this is 1 ounce. When I was cutting my soaps yesterday, they were coming out bigger and I was gonna give it to the customer for the size that I cut. And then I decided, no, I can't be giving people so much soaps. Let me shave the soap down to 1 ounce like it's supposed to be and use the scrapings as samples. Look how many samples I have. all these samples I could pass out at the farmer's market. These are scraps of samples that this will give somebody at least 2 weeks use of soap. So here's at least 100 little samples that I could pass out at the farmer's market to 100 new people that never had access to my pine tar soap before, and that's exposing my soap to 100 new people versus giving extra products to people that only paid for 1 ounce. So little stuff like this at the very beginning, you're not, I'm gonna wipe this and use this in my bathroom. At the very beginning, you're not being mindful about every little thing. All this is money, every little bit. Be wise of what you do with your products. If you sell your bars for 3.5 ounces and they're way bigger than 3.5 ounces, shave it down, because those shavings could be for samples. You have to even, that's one thing I'm not doing right now, which I need to do. I give a lot of samples. Every order that comes in, I give samples. I ship out a sample with each order. At the farmer's market, if there's 200 people that walk by my booth, that's 200 samples I'm giving out. Some people get more than 1 sample. So I need to start calculating, okay, this whole batch of soap is gonna be just for samples, and add that to my budget. So be very mindful at the very beginning. Every little thing you do, you gotta think of it as money, pennies. You don't wanna waste any money. Was thinking of doing soap potpourri and sachet with scrapes. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I did something like that a few years ago, where I shaved off the soaps, and they look like round little spirals, thank you. They look like little spirals, and I would sell them in a bag, and people could take a spiral at a time and wash their hands with. I did that a long time ago, but I stopped doing that. Now I just give out these as samples. So all of that count. Do you guys have any other questions, any other information you'd like us to share, either on the soaping end or taxes for your business so you can prepare for 2019? As I sit here and chew on some pistachios, I love pistachios. I will wake up out of bed 6 o'clock in the morning and eat.
Guys, you may not have questions now, but other questions may come up later on, which is totally fine and understandable as you guys are trying to wrap your brain around, making products, marketing, having to make sure you get your brand out, because that's key in making the money. But you also want to make sure on the back end your financials are taken care of. As I stated, feel free to contact me directly with any questions. Okay, I can be reached at my office. Hang on, guys, a question pop up. The Spirited Tree, can you count travel to conference?
And is there a cap?
Okay, so if you are traveling for business, yes, you can deduct that. That is a qualified business expense. However you travel, whether it be by plane, whether it be by train, whether it be in the car, please make sure you save all of your receipts. Your travel receipts as far as your transportation, as well as your meals.
I was going to ask you that okay.
Yeah. Meals are deductible 50%. So if you travel and you spend $50 on food.
Because I guess you got to eat regardless of where you are. So it's 50%?
It's been 50% forever.
Really?
Yeah. It's only extended for people who work in transportation.
Okay.
It's 50% for meals, and it cannot be extravagant. Thank you to Spirited Tree. So this is a great point. If you are traveling, okay, that expense has to be ordinary and necessary, okay? If you decide to stay at the Ritz-Carlton, that is not ordinary and necessary, okay? If you decide to stay somewhere extravagant because you feel like, oh, I'm just gonna put this on my business Amex card and deduct it, it has to be ordinary and necessary. You cannot say, okay, I'm gonna go eat at Prime 112 on the business, because that's not ordinary and necessary. Now it's different if you're in a line of business where you have to meet with millionaires. You're obviously not going to take them to Chili's.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it has to be ordinary and necessary according to the nature of the business.
What if you're taking a high-end client to, not a millionaire per se, but there's like a business that you want to talk to the owner about getting your soaps in the store, and they're a higher end store.
Where are you going to take them to?
Prime 112.
It has to be ordinary and necessary. Okay? Make sure you're keeping your receipts. If I go to Canada every summer, can I drop off soap samples at different stores? Can I deduct anything? So if you are traveling to Canada for the nature of your business, so if you're going to Canada every summer for family vacation, no, you cannot deduct anything. But if you are traveling to Canada for a conference or for some type of training, okay, then yes, that's a qualified business expense. But if you are already traveling for personal reasons and you happen to do business, the actual trip is not deductible, but whatever you do for the business while you're there is deductible.
So basically, you need to go to Canada to drop soaps. And while I'm here, go see her family. Don't listen to me, y'all. These are very good questions because other people have the same questions. Other people that will be watching the replay are going to have the same questions. So go ahead and roll your questions on. We have a few more minutes. Roll them in, and if we don't catch your questions on live stream, and those that wants to send me a DM, I'll collect the questions and have them ready for Jennifer for our next live stream next Wednesday, so that we can cover more of the topics for taxes. But I feel this is a very important topic because none of us want to be stuck getting audited and not knowing what we're doing. I think that's like the most scariest thing, especially for a small business when you have so much going on. You have your head wrapped around just running your business from day to day to have to worry about taxes. That's why I'm so grateful that Jennifer's on my team and helping me. And what we've done is not do the yearly stuff. We're doing the quarterly. We're doing the quarterly stuff, which is so much easier because if she's saying, hey, what's going on here? What happened there? It's so much easier to remember the last 3 months than trying to remember the last year. So that's another tip, whoever you're working with, that you do it on a quarterly basis so it's not so overwhelming. Because I know with us, and I'm sure with all companies, I'm just talking about us, we even have to do the whole inventory at the end of the year. So yes, that's a lot to go through. So if you keep your stuff up to par during the year, it won't be so overwhelming at the end of the year. So definitely keep that in mind. That's it. We go for family. Seeing if there's a way to get some deductions. I thank you too for this, just starting out. Now I know some areas I need to get organized. Yes.
Absolutely worth the wait, and I'm sure you're gonna do great, okay? Again, continue to focus on branding because that's what's gonna get your name out there, but you also want to find someone, whether it be a bookkeeper or a tax person or an accountant, that's going to help you maintain your books. Starting off, you may not have the financial resources to hire someone to keep you going, but you may want to look into some bartering options or different ways for someone to kind of help you keep your books going, because that's going to be important.
Or even if you get somebody to help you put everything in order and then you maintain it and you reconnect with that person once every year, as long as you're understanding what you need to do every quarter to get it going. That I truly think for any business to invest in that from the beginning so you're not feeling overwhelmed. And Jennifer does do consultations online. She does it through Skype and Zoom and all the fun ways that you could talk to people face to face on the technical side and over the phone. So don't feel because you don't live in Miami, Florida, that you cannot connect with her. She's very open into doing it with you over you know, the airways.
Technology will make a way.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Let's see if there's anything else. What is the best way to do inventory for our tax preparer?
Okay, so in this line of business, you guys carry products. So you're actually going to need to account for your inventory both at the beginning of the year as well as the end of the year. Okay? So at the beginning of the year, for those of you who are just starting your business, your inventory for the beginning of the year should be 0. Okay? For those of you who business has been going on for quite some time, whatever your ending inventory was last year, that should be your beginning inventory for this year. Okay? And you account for your inventory by basically however much your products is worth. So if you do a calculation and you have $2,000 worth of inventory, that's your ending inventory. If at the end of the year, come December 31st, you have 0 inventory, it's 0 inventory. Come January 1st, your beginning inventory is also 0. Okay? So at the end of the year, that is December 31st, you will take a look at your inventory and see how much products you actually have, how much dollars in products you have, and that's the number that you're going to give to your preparer.
I don't know where my computer is. You took it to school. When your son is trying to get on live stream and then he interrupts you to ask a question. You want to come say hi, Damar? They haven't seen your face in a while. I know when Doria watched the replay, she's going to say, my name, nephew.
I'm not your nephew?
No, she just calls you nephew.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
You notice he hasn't been doing his juicing?
Business is the key.
Speaking of business, Damar, you need to be listening to this for your own business in the future. You need to be checking with Jennifer
I
to
was
see what you
watching.
need to do at the age of 14 to start your business.
I was watching
Don't sleep.
a little bit.
Oh, yes, you were on the live stream. That's awesome.
I got
Thank you both. Have a blessed night. Thank you. Awesome. You're welcome. We'll be back on next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the deductions segment for your
Small
business.
businesses.
Small businesses.
My contact information will be dropped into this, so feel free to call me with any questions.
Let me put it in now because knowing me, I will forget. Give me a second, guys. Let me.
Why? FER. 563 5581.
And that's Jennifer's information. If you guys, once again, if you think of any questions offline, send me a DM. I'll gather all the DMs together and hand it over to her so she can answer your questions next week. Okay, guys, you have any last final things you want to share? Say? No.
Go make some soaps, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.